One of the things I really appreciate about both of you is that you're so open to being wrong. I don't know what's going to happen. We need to ask other people. We are not the only people who have the answers. And Sam, a few weeks ago on Twitter, I think someone snarkily tweeted at you like, well, next thing you're going to say, we should regulate AI. And you were like, yeah, we should regulate AI. And so my question for you is, how do you see that happening? How do you see a lot of people are saying, oh, you're moving too quickly. What would you call for in terms of either regulation or global governance or bringing people in?
I think there's a lot of anxiety and fear right now. And I always believe people when they're afraid or mad or whatever, even though I don't think people can always explain the reason. I think people feel afraid of the rate of change right now. A lot of the update that people at OpenAI, who work at OpenAI, have been grappling with for many years, a lot of the rest of the world is going through in a few months. And it's very understandable to feel a lot of anxiety in that moment. Look, we think that moving with great caution is super important. And I think there's a big regulatory role there. I don't think a pause in the naive sense is likely to help that much. We spent way more than 6 months, by the way, not way more, somewhat more than 6 months, aligning GPT-4 and safety testing it and red teaming it since we finished training. So like taking the time on that stuff is important, but really I think what we need to do is figure out what regulatory approach, what set of rules, what safety standards will actually work, will actually, in the messy contact with reality, work, and then figure out how to get that to be the sort of regulatory posture of the world. Greg, looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like I think that this picture of cause for both fear and optimism, I think is all justified. Like within OpenAI, I think that we have all the same emotions. Like we've thought about all these same scenarios. And I think that one advantage we have over people 20 years ago or 1,000 years ago is the empirical deployment of this technology, the empirical experience with how it works. Like the shape of AI is so different from what anyone expected. And I think that it is on us as we think about the regulatory regime, as we think about how do we want this all to progress, to really lean into what did we learn today? Like what statements can we make today that we just couldn't have made 5 years ago? And then to really target around that. And I think that these sort of empirical observations around that we're starting to learn how to align these models with our intent through feedback. Like that's something that we really started, 6 years ago to build that technology, but we're really starting to improve the engineering process behind it. And it's not perfect, it's still early days. And I think that to really scale it is going to require figuring out how to really scale human ability to give feedback to these systems. But the systems themselves are actually willing to do that. And so we actually have this picture that's like, it's just not very, what you would have thought of if you were starting de novo, any more than like you could describe what Uber would be back before the internet and Google Maps and like all these technologies that you needed to get it to happen. And so I think that there's something here about us just being humble as a species, right? And that there's this, the field of broken promises for AI is true for these predictions too, of exactly what will happen, exactly where things will go. And so we think that it is really important to have contact with reality and really learn from it, lean into it. And I think that has always been the OpenAI methodology and ethos.